guys, it's Janice from Ozark Family Homestead, and this is a video that I've been wanting to make for a while, and I want to make it because I care about you guys, and I feel like maybe this is something that I can help you all with. I just want to do the little part that I can so that you avoid any heartache or hunger or anything. I want good things for you all. So today, my hope is to talk about starting a emergency food pantry. Just stockpiling food if you're a beginner especially. I'm hoping this video is helpful for those that maybe are unfamiliar with it or just getting started. So for those of you that are new here, my name is Janice and I am a mama to 7 children, ages 19 down to 3. And I started my food pantry, keeping a stockpile, back in 2009. So I've been doing this for a little while, learned some things over those years, and in today's video, my hope is to revisit what it was like whenever I first started stockpiling, and to let you all know if I were doing it all over again, this is what I would do. This is how I would do things if I was starting from scratch today. So I have some notes taken because I don't want to forget anything, and we're just going to go over some do's and don'ts and some ideas to get the ball rolling for you all. So here we go. So I think the first place to start is to take a good hard look at the foods that you already eat. The items that you already buy from the grocery store every week, every month, the items that are already in your food rotation, your regular meals. Look at those first. That's what you're already comfortable with. You know that you will eat them. That's a plus, because in an emergency situation, you don't want to be stockpiled with food that nobody wants to eat. That'd be a bad thing. So let's look at those first. And then we're going to narrow it down a little bit so that we are strategically buying things that you know that your family will eat, but where you're getting the best bang for your buck emergency preparedness wise, so that as you get started, you're just going out of the gate just strong and making some wise choices here. So I'm looking at my notes here, and Shawn's helped me make up some notes so we don't forget anything. Of the foods that you already eat, focus on items that are shelf stable, do not require being refrigerated or frozen, and foods that are the most nutrient dense. Now we're going to go through some examples here of things that I do keep on hand, and the specific ones that I would suggest you stockpile first, of course, if there's something that your family will eat. So we're going to go through some of those things next, but I want you to be keeping in the back of your mind as we're talking about this. What are the foods that my family eats that I already buy? And then divide it down. Which of those are shelf stable and which are the most nutrient dense that I can put in our pantry? Because I don't know if you can see behind me here, I have several areas of the house, and I'm going to show you some of those throughout this video. Different pantries in different areas of the house. And I have things organized in ways to where we can rotate through things, since I do keep such a large stockpile. Because not only are we a large family, but we're a large family that's into emergency preparedness, and that makes the quantity of food here a lot larger than most people. So we're going to go ahead and get going. I'm going to start talking about the shelf stable items that are the most nutrient dense that we keep on hand and that I would recommend for you all to start with. So I don't know about you guys, but when I think of shelf stable food, the first place my mind goes to is canned goods. That's what I think of. So I'm going to take you out to one of my pantries here in just a little bit and show you some examples of the canned goods that I keep on hand and how I store them. I am going to show you that over the years, especially when I started, I would buy just maybe an extra can here or there, and slowly grew my pantry. And you can do that if you choose to, or if you're in more of a hurry, you might do like I do now. I buy things by the flat at this point. The little cardboard boxes at the store where they usually have 12 cans or so in that cardboard box, that's called a flat of it. And that's how I buy them now. And when I show you my canned goods in that pantry, you'll be able to see how I'm trying to store them nowadays. Now, something else that I am going to show you is there are kind of two different categories of food stockpiling that I would encourage you to think about. There is just ingredients, you know, fruits and vegetables and things like that in a can. And on the other category would be convenience foods. Just quick, simple. Open up the can, you can eat it, and it's done. And I say to do a couple different categories there because if you have an emergency, whether it's a weather-related thing or civil unrest or who knows what it might be, whatever the incident is, there's probably going to be some chaos and confusion at the very beginning, and it's going to take you several days to kind of breathe and process and get a sense of normalcy back in place. And during that time, those fast, convenient, open up the can and eat it foods are going to really make the whole situation easier. I can say from experience, just several months ago, we had a tornado come through. We were without power. A tree came down on the house. There was some chaos and confusion there. And being able to have things on hand that we could just eat simply, we could eat quick, and we could spend our time and energy figuring out what needed to be done next, because everything just got, you know, we all got thrown for a loop with that. And so I do want to encourage you to think about fast food things that you could keep on hand, but also that category of just plain ingredients that you would want to keep on hand as well. So at this point, let's go on out and look at some of the canned goods that I keep in our family's pantry and talk about that a little bit more. So I'm sorry if the lighting is not good out here. I don't have a way to brighten it up really anymore, but I did want to show you, like, this is the tomato section here of my canned goods pantry. And if you can see, my tomatoes are for the most part in the cardboard boxes still. And what we do with some of them now, instead of labeling like individual cans, we put the best by date in Sharpie on the cans, but I am transitioning now to just putting the Sharpie on the flat. It takes up less time. And by doing it this way, by keeping things in the flat, so what we will do is we will finish off this entire flat of 12 cans. And at that point, I will not be out of diced tomatoes because I keep 4 flats of diced tomatoes here in the canned foods pantry. But whenever I finished off this whole flat here, at that point, we will shuffle the canned goods, and I will just buy another flat and put it into the rotation here that it needs to be. These are actually the oldest. These are the ones that we'll use up here first. But that way, I'm not going to the store and buying, let's say, 3 cans of diced tomatoes, and then I have to reshuffle all of these cans in order to keep the oldest, use it first stuff in the front, and to put the newest ones in the back here. That can be a big hassle. Doing this just by flat has been far, far easier in managing this. Of course, you have to have the space to do this. So think about that. If you are getting started on a pantry, where would you put it? Do you have the means to just put 1 or 2 flats stacked up? I would suggest starting with 2 flats. That way, when one empties, you start on the next one, and you're never totally out of a product. You're just merely replenishing what you've already used up. So next thing we're going to talk about here, I've got a whole bunch of food on the table here behind me. We're going to talk about some of this stuff. Now, but here's the thing. I don't want you to get overwhelmed with all the stuff that I'm going to show you here. I'm not showing you these things because this is the list of things you should go and buy right now. No, this is a list of ideas for you. I'd rather give you too many options than not enough. Maybe have a pen and paper if you see something on here that, oh, well, we would eat that. Jot it down, and that may be something for you to begin a food stockpile of. So yeah, these are things that I keep on hand that our family uses. Some of these we use on a regular basis, and some of them you'll see it's the best by date has passed because we don't use them on a regular basis. But I still keep some things on hand for emergency usage anyway. So I'm going to go through these food items with you, kind of generally speaking in categories, so this doesn't take 4 hours. And I hope you glean something from it. So I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll get started. So let's start kind of in the category of those fast foods. The power just went out, the tornado just went through, the event has happened, whatever that event might be, and you need something quick and simple, but still good for bodies. Relatively speaking, to feed your family. These are some of the things that I keep on hand here in this little category that we're going to talk about of shelf stable. They have some nutrition to them and they're fast. So canned goods. Let's talk about those first since we were just doing canned goods. I do keep things like the beef stew, and the best price I'm finding actually nowadays is not Aldi. I think Aldi has stopped carrying the beef stew, I'm pretty sure. I now get it at Sam's Club in a big box of, several cans all together. So beef stew, the mini ravioli, I try to get it for about $1 a can. The condensed chicken noodle soup. And for this here, I always can add in, if you need to make it less thin, more substantial, you can always add in cans of carrots real quick and some canned chicken real quick too. And that makes this a little bit more of a sturdy soup if you've got people with heartier appetites. The corned beef hash, this is just potatoes and then seasoned beef all put in there together really quick. It's already cooked and everything, ready to go. More canned soups and some canned chili. I did find at a Bittendent store a long time ago, I found these chicken salads here, but places like Dollar Tree and stuff might have them too. I'm not really familiar with that. So these little canned chicken salads, things like crackers maybe to go with this. There's just some granola bars, some Lara bars. Those are good as well. And even something simple, just like crackers and peanut butter. These are just simple things I can pull out of the cabinet real quick and feed people. Doesn't necessarily even have to be warmed up, but if you do have access to do that right after an event, that's even better. So let's move on from there. Actually, let's move down here to the other end of the table because the nuts and fruits kind of go along with those convenience fast foods that we were talking about. I do always keep quite a few canisters of peanuts, and I keep about 4 or 5 bags of the almonds on hand at all time, and those can be pulled out for a quick and easy fill up belly's meal, as well as fruits, both canned fruits and dehydrated fruits. So there's dried fruits here, and there's some freeze-dried as well. Sam's Club I found to be the best deal on the freeze-dried strawberries, and I do get these from Sam's Club as well. And my fruits typically come from Walmart or Aldi. Now the raisins here, I buy those in bulk from Azure Standard. I am going to have a link. There's several things here that I do get from Azure Standard. I'm going to put a link, our referral link, in the description box. If you guys did want to set up an account and maybe place an order, if you could use our link, that would be awesome, because we get a credit on our family's account if you sign up using our link. I would appreciate it. But these are also items that are fast and easy that you can pull out quickly and fill up bellies. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about some other food categories here on this table and where I get them and how they can be used. So let's just say a couple days have passed, you kind of have a routine going on for your family now, and you can branch out a little bit more on food. You're not quite so dependent at this point on fast food. We're going to go through some other canned options here. Let's just look at some veggies. These are some vegetables that I do keep on hand. Again, I buy them by the flat, just like I showed you with the tomatoes out there, and I stack them up. We also, as we look through things, we put Sharpie on everything, the dates and stuff, just so we can keep it in a rotation, and hopefully the plan is things don't get lost. So I keep things like the sweet corn on hand, the carrots I've already talked about. You can use those just to eat, but you can add them to things you could add it to beef stew or something like that. There's some whole potatoes here. You could doctor up your beef stew to just make it go a little further. All the different types of tomato products, diced tomatoes, crushed tomatoes, tomato sauce. We'll talk about spices maybe a little bit later, and you can make your own spaghetti sauce as long as you've got tomato sauce there on hand. Add your salt, pepper, basil, oregano, garlic powder, all that stuff to it, and make up a spaghetti sauce. I also keep already made up spaghetti sauce on hand too, if you just need something a little bit faster, a little bit more convenient. I do keep the sweet potatoes on hand. We don't use these much, but we grow sweet potatoes, so we have fresh sweet potatoes almost year-round. But this is a nutrient-dense food that keeps well. It is shelf-stable, so I do keep it on hand in case of emergencies. I also keep canned Rotel as well. And this may be something that you're not familiar with. This is another of the As Your Standard products that I have purchased. This is a tomato powder. So this is unopened, but the way that you would use this is if you opened it up, you would spoon out some powder, add some water to it, and depending on how much water you add to it, you could have tomato paste if you add a little bit of water, or you could do tomato sauce if you add a little bit more water. If you put a lot more water in it, you can get tomato juice and add tomato juice to some stuff and make up a soup or something like that. So I do keep this on hand as well. Should be able to do this on our own once we get the freeze dryer up and working. This isn't something I should have to purchase, but this is available through As Your Standard. As far as veggies go, I don't know if you all are familiar with this as well. These canisters here of food, these will last for 20 to 30 years on your shelf. And you guys, there are so many options. This is vegetable stew. I have soups that are freeze-dried as well. There are all kinds of vegetables. There's a black bean burger available. I purchased these on Amazon. I would keep watching for items, and when they would go on sale, that's when I would buy them, when they would go on markdown. There's even a butter powder, so you could have shelf-stable butter powdered available to you if that's something that you would like to add for your family's emergency preparedness. So lots of options with this company here. Let's go ahead and talk about meats. These are the canned meats that I like to keep in our pantries. This Keystone brand, last I checked, it was available at Walmart. They have several different types of meats canned. What I choose to keep on hand is the ground beef, the chicken, and the shredded beef, but there are others available. I do also keep the smaller cans of chicken breast. These are from Sam's Club. I'm not even discussing home canned items today, since this is a beginner's food stockpiling video. I'm just focusing on store-bought things that are quick, easy to grab and put on your shelf. So we do keep home canned things as well, but we're just talking about this for today. As far as fish goes, the salmon, right now the best deal is at Aldi, but Sam's Club is pretty competitive on the salmon as well. I do get my tuna, the albacore tuna, at Sam's Club. I like buying it in these boxes for the same reason as I like buying my other canned goods in flats. buying them in the flats and buying these in the box just makes it easier to stack and to organize those sections of the pantry. Now, one thing I did want to point out, both for the meats and for the canned fruits back here, save those juices that come in the cans. Don't pour out the juices. The juices from the meats could be used to cook rice or something in. It would be an additional flavoring for rice. The juice here in the cans of fruit are just great for straight up drinking. My children love that. So don't waste those, especially in an emergency situation. You're not going to want to waste that valuable food that is still in those cans. While I'm talking about cans, let's just make a note that a manual can opener is necessary. If you are without power, having all of this stuff on your shelf isn't going to do you a bit of good if you can't get the cans open. And a lot of them are going to be like this and not a pull tab. So I have 2 manual can openers that I keep in a kitchen drawer. And I have a couple of spares set aside as well for just in case. We don't even own an electric can opener. So make sure you have one of those. So I've shuffled some stuff around, got rid of the zinnias that were here in the table, and we're going to talk about the things in the back here. This section here, I kind of have set aside grains or kind of a breakfast foods section. So I like to keep some hot cereal mixes on hand. And of course, some of that includes oats, which I buy in bulk from Azure Standard again, and I store those in big 5-gallon buckets. I have several buckets just of oats. And of course, you use those for all kinds of things instead of just hot breakfast cereal. So I like things that are multi-purpose. I also keep a stash of cream of barley on hand. I don't typically keep the corn grits on hand, but that would be an option for a hot cereal. I actually currently have a 5-grain hot cereal mix on order from Azure Standard, but I haven't received it yet. So things like this are great because all you have to do is have hot water and put this in there and you have a filling breakfast. Also ways to sweeten it up. And again, part of that is the spice cabinet that I'll show you later. But if you have things like cinnamon on hand, maple syrup, lasts for a long time, shelf stable. I get this at Sam's Club. It's the best price I found. And honey. You guys, honey will last indefinitely. And not only is it a great sweetener, but it even has medicinal uses as well. So this is a multi-purpose item that I keep a pretty large stockpile of honey on hand. I actually buy it both in the gallon jug from Azure Standard, but I also buy it in these little squirt bottles just for convenience sake as well. So I really encourage you to keep a stash of honey on hand. Now up here is a pancake mix. We have repackaged this. This comes in a big blue bag from Sam's Club, the buttermilk pancake mix. It's really not that expensive. You get a lot in there. We repackaged it just so mice and stuff wouldn't get into the thin blue packaging, but this is super easy. We keep it on hand for emergency preparedness. You just add water and you can cook up some pancakes. So again, you have the maple syrup here on hand, and so this is an emergency preparedness item that we keep on hand as well. And that kind of covers breakfast for you. As long as you have access to heating up water, you're okay. Down here, talking about grains at least, pastas. I do keep pastas on hand, and that would make a quick, as long as you can heat up water, you can cook up some pasta. You can doctor up your tomato powder, or maybe you've got some cans of ready-made sauce, and you've got some canned ground beef. You can throw together a very filling spaghetti as long as you've got these items on hand. So I would encourage you to get some of those. This is what I keep on hand for shelf-stable milk. This right here is from Dollar Tree, and you open it up and drink it. It is just shelf-stable milk. And I get the whole milk, but they also have 2% available as well. And then there's also the powdered milk that you can keep on hand also. As far as canned milk, sweetened condensed milk, evaporated milk, you have options on that as well. It just depends on kind of what you prefer and where you want to store it and how much you want to store. You have options on this, but by having this on hand, it opens up a wide variety of things that you can make, because we'll talk about this a little bit later. There are items that I'm going to recommend you do not get as part of your emergency preparedness pantry, because they are dependent upon things like this. Moving on down the table here. If you've watched my grocery haul videos, you know I love these shelf-stable hash brown potatoes that I get from Sam's Club. They have the best price, and you get 50 servings out of that big carton. And again, as long as you can soak them in water and cook them up, you can really make a meal stretch by adding these potatoes to it. If you want to season things up, the white cheddar powder, we actually use this for our homemade hamburger helper. So this is something we do use on a regular basis. I do get it from Amazon, and I can put the link to our Amazon storefront in the description box as well for that item. You're going to want canned beans, a variety of canned beans. Now we're going to talk about dried beans here in a little bit too, but the canned beans, you can add this to things to, again, stretch the meal. And that may be an issue you're going to want to tackle if you do go through a tough time, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The last category here on the table, let me move these, fats and oils. So this is what I keep on hand. I just remembered I do have canola oil as well, that I keep a stockpile of that also. And I have a bucket of beef tallow that I keep as well. The extra virgin olive oil I get from Sam's Club, and the coconut oil comes from Sam's Club as well. Some may not be familiar with this. This is ghee, G-H-E-E, or clarified butter. This down here I did get from Sam's Club, and I may have ordered that from Amazon. I'm not completely certain on that anymore. This is shelf-stable butter. Now, it's not like the actual stick butter that you're used to getting from the grocery store. It is more condensed, I guess. You can just scoop it out with a spoon and use it. You can cook up eggs, you can fry up eggs with it and things like that. Having things like this on hand, just like the powdered milk or the shelf-stable milk here, this opens up a lot of doors for you to be able to cook things in an emergency situation that you would otherwise be restricted because you don't have this vital ingredient. As far as butter goes, there is also an option. You know, I had mentioned the freeze-dried food here. There is a butter powder that you could get as well, like that. But I personally view things like shelf-stable butter and the shelf-stable milk as more of a second tier in emergency preparedness. It's not the basic level like meats, fruits, vegetables, nuts, you know, the basic things. That is another level. But I did want to address it since it's a basic thing that some of you might miss in an emergency situation. Okay, so we are going to be wrapping it up here pretty soon, but first of all, I have girls making cookies here in the background, so that's the noises that you're hearing going on back there. We're going to a friend's house tonight for supper, and they're making some, is it chocolate chip cookies?
Yeah.
Yeah, Anna's in charge of the chocolate chip cookies for tonight, so that's what's going on there. Before we wrap things up, I do want to talk about the few things that I actually do not recommend that you start off your beginner's emergency stockpile with. So I'm going to turn the camera around real quick and we'll talk about that. And I think one other thing. I'll think of things I missed later. You know that I will. So I'll turn the camera around and we'll talk about this real quick. All right, so since we are talking about shelf-stable items, I think these are the kind of things that a lot of people would automatically go to. Maybe even boxed macaroni and cheese, things like that. The issue with adding these things to your emergency preparedness pantry is that you must have things like we talked about, the milk, and the butter in order to make these items. And for a lot of people, especially beginners, are not going to have those items on hand, and you're going to think that you have some filling foods here for your family, and then you end up not being able to really make them adequately. So if you do want to add things like this or macaroni and cheese, make sure that you do have the butter and the milk available in order to really make them something that your family will want to eat. I'll have to remember to go through my list to see what I did forget. The last thing I did want to discuss were people think that if you're into emergency preparedness, it's beans and rice and beans, which I do keep rice on hand. I buy it in bulk from Azure Standard. I keep my beans in buckets. So this is a whole bunch of pinto beans, and I keep Great Northern beans and black beans. And I think I even have lima beans in there. Oh, we got a dessert getting done. But these are very good emergency preparedness foods. Now you know that they do take a while to make. These aren't quick foods. But as long as you do have these, and then you have seasonings, ways to flavor them well, then you have a lot of options. I do keep a stockpile of salsa on hand for things, you can season this up. And I keep a pretty good variety of the spices, the seasonings here. And as long as I have all these things here on hand, then let me see. I don't know if you guys can kind of see the items that I keep on hand here. You can just about make anything as long as you've got lots of spices, lots of seasonings. I do have a video where I make my own taco seasoning and sausage seasoning and baking powder, and I'll try to remember to put that in the description box as well, so that you can see what I choose to keep on hand after this many years of cooking from scratch and trying to be prepared in case of an emergency. So girls are still in there making their cookies, and it was getting a little noisy, so I came out to the summer kitchen let's talk about some things here kind of at the end. Final thoughts. So if I were starting over, what would I have done differently? Knowing what I know now, I would have set aside more space for my pantry. It has grown over the years, and with you starting, you're not gonna require a large space, but just keep it in the back of your mind that as the years go on and as you continue to grow your pantry and expand the variety of foods that you keep there, you're probably going to want more space. So just be thinking about that as you're starting this journey here. I would also start off with just utilizing the things that I'm familiar with and that I know my family likes, that we ate anyway. So I would encourage you to do that. Again, do not think you have to go buy everything that I just showed you in my kitchen there on that dining room table. That will be overwhelming, and you will probably get stressed out, and I don't want that for you. I want this process to be something that brings you peace, something that gives you a sense of security, something that allows you to know that your family is okay. I do not want this to be something that you do from a place of fear. It is possible to be a prepper or to prepare for emergencies without panicking and without doing it in fear. You're doing it because you are trying to be a good steward of the things that you have been blessed with, of the money that you've been blessed with, of the time that you are in right now where food is plentiful. Just be a good steward of those things that you've been blessed with and go with it in a peaceful way. So that's what I want. That's what I hope you get out of this video. I hope it is helpful. If it was helpful, please do the thumbs up. Make sure that you are subscribed. And if you could tell others about our family's channel, to share specific videos with them that you think they would enjoy, it will help our family's channel grow, and I would appreciate it. And if you think of any questions that I did not address, I know when I get finished with this, I'm going to think of a whole bunch of things that I forgot to mention. So I'm sorry for the things I forgot, but if you can think of something, put it in the comments and maybe I'll do a second video or something later on down the road addressing all the things that weren't in my brain today. So, all right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching